Life always presents us with two doors, one that leads to discipline, effort, and reward, and the other that leads to ease, neglect, and regret. The truth is, it's easy to get rich. The steps are laid out. Work on yourself, provide value, save, invest, and repeat. None of these steps are hidden. They've been taught for centuries, and anyone can follow them. But here's the challenge. It's easier not to. It's easier to say, I'll start tomorrow. It's easier to spend money today than invest it for tomorrow. It's easier to blame circumstances than to discipline habits. It's easier to follow the crowd than to take the road less traveled. The reason most people don't achieve wealth isn't because it's impossible. It's because the easier path looks more attractive in the moment. The couch is easier than the gym. Entertainment is easier than education. Consumption is easier than creation. And yet, every easy choice carries a hidden price tag. Wealth doesn't just come from money. It comes from the daily disciplines of the mind, body, and spirit. It comes from the decision to do what is necessary, not just what is easy. The wealthy understand that every small action compounds. Reading one book may not change your life, but reading for 10 years surely will. Saving $1 won't make you rich, but saving consistently over decades surely will. So yes, it's easy to get rich, but it's easier not to. The question is, which easy will you choose? The ease of discipline now, or the ease of regret later? Wealth is available for those who will take the harder easy today, so they can enjoy the easier life tomorrow. Wealth is not a mystery. It doesn't arrive as lightning from the sky or as some secret formula only a chosen few can understand. At its root, wealth begins with simple disciplines. The kind of disciplines anyone can do. Setting a little aside, reading a little each day, showing up when others are lazy, learning instead of ignoring, working with focus instead of drifting. The building blocks of a prosperous life are not complicated, but here's the real challenge: neglect is always easier. It's easier not to set aside that extra dollar. It's easier to skip the book and watch television. It's easier to eat whatever is convenient rather than what nourishes you. It's easier to say, I'll start tomorrow, instead of taking action today. And over time, those small eases begin to pile up. The tragedy is that neglect doesn't scream at you. It whispers. It doesn't ruin you overnight. It quietly erodes your future. One day, one excuse, one skip discipline at a time. On the other hand, simple disciplines compound. A single push up won't make you fit, but daily push-ups will transform your body. One saved dollar won't change your bank account, but consistent saving will build a fortune. One book won't make you wise, but reading daily will expand your mind and open doors others can't even see. That's the secret. Small disciplines, done consistently, turn into extraordinary results. But they require a choice. Will you do what is slightly difficult now, or will you choose what is slightly easier now? The person who builds wealth is not necessarily smarter, luckier, or more gifted. Often, they are just more disciplined. They decided, instead of neglect, I'll practice the little things. They decided, instead of wasting hours, I'll invest them. They decided, instead of living for comfort today, I'll live for freedom tomorrow. That's the difference. And here's the encouraging truth: you can make the same decision at any moment. But let's be honest, neglect will always invite you. It will always say, relax, it's not a big deal. One day won't matter. But one day multiplied by 100 becomes a habit, and habits form destiny. The difference between someone who enjoys wealth and someone who suffers lack is not measured in giant leaps, but in small steps. One chose disciplines, the other chose neglect. Think about the farmer. He doesn't get a harvest by neglecting his field. If he fails to plant, fails to water, fails to weed, the ground won't reward him. The soil doesn't care about excuses. It responds only to diligence. Life is the same. The harvest of wealth doesn't come to those who neglect. It comes to those who practice the little things faithfully, even when it seems small, even when no one is watching, even when the results don't appear right away. The price of discipline is always paid up front. The price of neglect is always paid with interest. Discipline might cost you a little effort today, a little sacrifice today, a little discomfort today. But neglect will cost you opportunities, freedom, and peace of mind tomorrow. And once tomorrow arrives, you cannot go back and undo today's neglect. That's why the choice is so crucial in the present. Every wealthy person once stood where you stand, faced with a choice between discipline and neglect. They decided to take the harder road now so life would be easier later. They decided to pay the price of discipline so they could enjoy the rewards of abundance. If wealth begins with simple disciplines, then poverty begins with simple neglects. Both paths are easy, but they lead to very different destinations. So let this be a reminder: don't underestimate the power of the small. Don't despise the little effort, the little saving, the little study, the little discipline. Because little by little becomes much. Neglect may be easier today, but discipline will always be worth it tomorrow. And if you choose discipline consistently, you'll discover that wealth was never complicated. It was simply the result of refusing the easier neglect in exchange for the better future. Every life is the sum of its choices. And every fortune or failure is not built in a single day, but in the quiet, unnoticed decisions we make daily. The little choices, the ones that seem so small in the moment, are the ones that carry the most weight over time. Whether it's how you spend an hour, how you treat a dollar, or how you use your energy, these daily decisions are seeds. And seeds, once planted, always grow into a harvest. One decision to spend recklessly may not destroy you. One skipped workout won't ruin your health. One day of procrastination won't sink your future. But when those small neglects repeat, when they become patterns, they compound into failure. What starts as a harmless choice becomes a habit. Habits shape character, and character shapes destiny. The little things, repeated often enough, become the big things. On the other hand, every fortune begins the same way, with daily decisions in favor of discipline, growth, and consistency. Reading a few pages of a good book may seem minor, but over time it changes how you think. Saving a small percentage of your income may seem insignificant, but over decades it grows into abundance. Offering kindness when no one is watching may feel unnoticed, but it builds a life of influence and trust. Each decision by itself seems too small to matter, but together they form the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. That's the strange truth about life. Both fortune and failure come from the same source. Compound interest, but applied differently. Compound interest doesn't only apply to money. It applies to habits, health, relationships, knowledge, and character. When you make the right decision daily, the interest compounds in your favor. When you make the wrong decision daily, the interest compounds against you. Neither happens overnight, but given enough time, the difference is undeniable. Imagine two people. One decides to read 30 minutes a day, invest a small portion of income, and exercise regularly. The other decides to scroll, spend, and sit. At first, they look the same. After a month, no noticeable difference. But give it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The gap between them is enormous. One has wisdom, wealth, and health. The other has regret, debt, and decline. Same time, same opportunities, different decisions. That's why we can't afford to underestimate the power of small daily choices. They don't just affect the day, they shape the years. And the years shape a lifetime. It's easy to believe that big success or big failure comes from one dramatic event, but in reality, they come from accumulated decisions. Tiny votes for either progress or decline. So the question to ask is simply, what are my daily decisions compounding into? Are they compounding into fortune, or are they compounding into failure? Am I giving my energy to things that build me up, or to things that slowly tear me down? Every action is a deposit, either into the account of wealth or the account of regret. The encouraging news is this: anyone can change direction. The compounding effect works both ways. If your choices have been leading toward failure, start making new ones today. One good choice begins to reverse the momentum. One decision to learn, to save, to practice, to invest, to discipline yourself. It matters. It may not look like much today, but it changes the trajectory of tomorrow. Fortune or failure, it's never luck. It's always decisions multiplied by time. Each day is a vote. Each choice is a seed. And in the end, life doesn't hand you what you wish for. It hands you the harvest of what you consistently plant. So guard your daily decisions. Honor the small disciplines. Don't be fooled by their size, because the little things aren't little. They are everything. And they will either compound into the fortune you dreamed of or the failure you never wanted. Excuses are the cheapest thing a person can make. They cost nothing in the moment. No sweat, no effort, no sacrifice. They roll off the tongue with ease. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. It's too hard. I'm not ready. And because they cost nothing right now, they feel safe, almost comfortable. But the bill always comes due, and when it does, excuses turn out to be the most expensive debt a person can carry. Think about it. Excuses don't remove the weight of responsibility. They just postpone it. They don't solve the problem. They only disguise it. And while you're covering today with an excuse, time is moving, opportunities are passing, and habits are forming. One excuse may not seem like much, but a lifetime of excuses adds up to missed chances, unrealized potential, and dreams that never left the imagination. That is the high cost of something that once felt free. The danger with excuses is how convincing they sound. They're not usually wild lies. They're half-truths. They dress themselves in reason. I'm too tired. I'm too busy. I'll wait until the timing is right. But the timing is never perfect, energy is never unlimited, and life never clears the schedule. The person who waits for the ideal conditions never moves. Excuses whisper, not now, until one day it becomes never. On the other hand, those who reject excuses discover that discipline may cost something up front, but it pays dividends forever. Waking up early, saving when it hurts, practicing when others quit. Yes, it's harder in the moment, but the reward is freedom, growth, and success. Excuses spare you a little discomfort today, but they rob you of the future you could have built. Consider the person who excuses their health. I'll start eating better next month. I don't have time for exercise. The excuse feels harmless today, but 10 years later, when energy is gone and sickness arrives, the price is paid in full. Or take finances. I can't afford to save. I'll invest later when I make more money. That excuse costs nothing today. But 20 years down the road, when retirement comes with no savings and dependence on others, the excuse has charged its interest. Excuses are also dangerous because they multiply. One excuse gives birth to another. When you defend your inaction once, it becomes easier to defend it again. Soon, excuses form a wall around your life, locking you into mediocrity. And from behind that wall, it's easy to look at others who succeeded and call them lucky, when in truth, they just refuse to pay the heavy price of excuses. Here's the good news. Excuses may be expensive in the long run, but you can stop making payments today. The moment you stop excusing and start acting, the balance shifts. It doesn't take perfection, it takes a decision. One honest step forward breaks the cycle. One choice to take responsibility begins to rebuild. Excuses lose their power the moment you decide to face the truth and move anyway. Life gives you two options: pay now or pay later. Discipline costs a little today. Excuses cost everything tomorrow. That's the real choice. And those who succeed aren't those who never felt like making excuses. They're the ones who felt it but refused to bow to it. They understood that while excuses may be free in the moment, the long-term expense was too high a price to pay. So guard yourself. Be honest when excuses start whispering in your ear. Ask yourself, what will this cost me if I let it slide? And then choose the small cost of discipline instead of the crushing cost of regret. Because the truth is simple. Excuses will empty your future, but responsibility will enrich it. It's always easier to spend today. The pull of instant gratification is strong. Money in your pocket feels like freedom, and the thought of waiting, of holding back, of investing, it feels like denial. Spending is effortless. Swipe the card, hand over the cash, and enjoy the moment. No patience required. But while spending makes today comfortable, it does little for tomorrow. The wiser choice, though often the harder one, is to invest. To put something aside, to plant a seed, to prepare for a future that hasn't yet arrived. The truth is, most people don't struggle because of a lack of income. They struggle because of a lack of discipline. Spending gives you pleasure now, but investing gives you security later. Spending buys things, but investing buys freedom. Spending disappears the moment the transaction is done, but investing grows quietly in the background, building a foundation for a better life. Think of it like farming. You can eat the seed today. It's easy, quick, and satisfying. But if you do, you'll miss out on the harvest that could have been. The wise farmer resists the urge to consume it all. He sets aside some for planting, knowing the field will multiply it many times over. The same principle applies to money, time, energy, and talent. Spend them recklessly, and they're gone. Invest them wisely, and they return multiplied. Why is it so difficult? Because tomorrow feels far away, while today is right in front of us. The new gadget, the night out, the little indulgence. They call loudly. The future whispers softly. But make no mistake, the future always arrives. And when it does, it demands the results of yesterday's decisions. The person who spent freely must face tomorrow with little to show for it. The person who invested wisely greets tomorrow with opportunity and abundance. This doesn't mean denying yourself every joy in life. It means striking the balance, enjoying some of today, but also preparing for tomorrow. Every dollar you save and invest is a silent worker laboring for your future. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every relationship you nurture, these are investments too. They may not pay off instantly, but over time they become the foundation of wealth, wisdom, and influence. Spending is easy because it asks nothing of you. Investing is harder because it requires patience, vision, and discipline. But the rewards are not even close. Spend everything and your comfort lasts a moment. Invest wisely and your security lasts a lifetime. One choice leaves you vulnerable to every storm. The other builds a shelter that can weather any season. Look at those who built fortunes, stability, and freedom. Their lives were not shaped by one grand decision, but by small, steady acts of investment. They decided to live on less than they earned. They chose books over television, growth over entertainment, discipline over indulgence. They understood that every little act of investment, whether of money or time, was a vote for a better tomorrow. And look also at those trapped by constant lack. Most did not arrive there by one catastrophic mistake. More often, it was the slow drain of spending today and ignoring tomorrow. One small indulgence multiplied by years becomes debt. One ignored opportunity multiplied by time becomes regret. It's not the big decisions that sink a life, but the repeated small choices in favor of spending over investing. The good news is anyone can change direction. You don't need a fortune to begin investing in tomorrow. You only need a little discipline today. Start with what you have. Save a portion. Learn a skill. Build a habit. Each small act of investment is a seed for the future. The sooner you plant, the greater the harvest. So yes, it's easier to spend today. The pleasure is immediate. The reward is instant. But it's wiser to invest for tomorrow. Because tomorrow is coming whether you prepare or not. The question is, will it meet you empty-handed or with the fruit of wise choices? Remember, today's spending ends today, but today's investing lives on for years to come. Knowledge is the seed of wealth. It shapes the way you think, guides the way you act, and determines the opportunities you can recognize. Every bit of useful knowledge you acquire becomes an asset that no one can take away. It doesn't rust, it doesn't depreciate, and it doesn't vanish when the economy shifts. Knowledge builds wealth because it changes you. And when you change, everything around you eventually changes. But while knowledge builds, entertainment drains. Entertainment is easy. It asks nothing of you except your time and your attention. It rewards you instantly with distraction, laughter, or excitement. But when it's over, nothing remains. You're no wiser, no stronger, no wealthier. The hours are gone, the energy is gone, and the opportunity is gone. Entertainment drains not because it's evil, but because it takes without giving back. Now, there is nothing wrong with enjoying a show, a game, or a song. Life needs moments of refreshment. But the danger comes when entertainment becomes the center of life, instead of a small reward. Too many people trade the possibility of a wealthy future for the comfort of constant distraction. They know more about celebrities than about money. They memorize sports statistics, but never study financial principles. They spend hours consuming, but almost no time learning. And then they wonder why success feels out of reach. Knowledge, on the other hand, multiplies. A single idea from a good book can lead to an invention, a business, or a career breakthrough. A single principle learned from a mentor can alter the course of your life. Each hour invested in learning compounds like interest in a bank. One book becomes 10, 10 become 100, and soon your mind holds a library that can solve problems, create value, and open doors. That is how knowledge builds wealth, slowly, steadily, invisibly at first, until suddenly the results are undeniable. Compare the two paths. One person chooses to spend most evenings watching television, scrolling through endless feeds, and playing games. The other chooses to spend those same hours reading, practicing, studying, and applying. At first, there's no visible difference. After a year, maybe still not much, but after 5 years, the gap is enormous. One has a sharper mind, stronger skills, and increasing opportunities. The other has only memories of shows and games that no longer matter. The difference is what they invested their time into, knowledge or entertainment. The pull of entertainment is strong because it feels like rest. But real rest replenishes, empty distraction drains. You can tell the difference by the results. Does the activity leave you stronger, more focused, more prepared? Or does it leave you empty, needing the next fix of distraction? If it drains you, it's a debt. If it builds you, it's an asset. Wealth comes from stacking assets, not debts. This principle applies beyond money. Knowledge builds wealth in relationships because understanding people makes you a better friend, partner, or leader. Knowledge builds wealth in health because learning how the body works helps you live longer and stronger. Knowledge builds wealth in character because wisdom shapes choices that protect you from unnecessary pain. Entertainment by itself does none of these. It simply burns time and energy that could have been invested in growth. The encouraging truth is that anyone can shift from draining to building. You don't have to eliminate all entertainment. You simply need to give more time to knowledge. Replace an hour of distraction with an hour of learning. Trade the scrolling for studying. Exchange the series binge for building a skill. The compounding effect will surprise you. A year from now, you'll be thinking differently, earning differently, and living differently. In the end, both knowledge and entertainment ask for your time. One gives you a return, the other takes it away. One builds the foundation of wealth, the other leaves you with nothing to show. The choice is simple, but not always easy. Will you invest in knowledge that builds, or surrender to entertainment that drains? Remember, Your future wealth is being shaped by what you choose to feed your mind today.